everyone, my name is Araha VT, and today we are going to be going over Ines Raya, the brand new Descendant that just came out this past weekend. I've done a lot of work on this build. I'm pretty proud of it. I actually have two different builds here for you today. One very standard build that can work with pretty much any reactor, and then I have a custom built one that will require you to farm a specific reactor, but in my opinion it will turn out to be the superior build, especially in the higher level erosion dungeons, which we do not currently yet have access to. So let's go ahead and get into her abilities, and then I will show you the build and the cards. So Ines's passive is called Plasma Oscillation. So basically what this does is anytime you land a firearm critical hit or a skill critical hit, there is a chain reaction of damage in any of the mobs that are in the conductor state. So that way you have a chance to, number one, restore MP, and then number two, do a lot of massive AoE damage. So she is a crit focus build, and that's what we will be focusing on here today. Her first ability is called Chain Lightning, which is an electric singular type ability. What this does is it fires a Chain Lightning forward, which bounces between multiple enemies. You have 7 bounces, which can be increased based upon your character's range. And in its basic state, without any cards, you get 1 charge. Her second ability is called Lightning Conductor, and this creates coils on nearby enemies to do damage. Once again, if they are in the conductor state, the damage will be done additionally. So you want to try to maintain the conductor state on all your enemies for all of her abilities, as they all do additional damage when they are in the conductor state. This has a pretty high skill power modifier, so this actually does more individual damage than the lightning bounce. However, the lightning bounce can bounce multiple times onto one target. So there's both pros and cons of both abilities of which one you want to spam, keeping in mind the first ability is singular and the second ability is tech. Her third ability is once again singular, called Discharge. This is a charging ability that does more damage when it is at its peak performance. Now, this is not necessarily holding it for the entire time, so it was kind of a misnomer here. You charge it, but when the lightning turns red, that is considered to be the peak time to release to deal the maximum amount of damage. It is a massive skill power, 3,684% skill power modifier that can increase to double that if you do time it correctly. So this is a very powerful, hard-hitting ability. Her fourth and final ability is called Snare Hunter, which is an electric tech ability. This does a ton of AoE damage in a very, very large radius and has the added benefit of increasing her movement speed. So it is a very nice utility for speedrunning the dungeons and the erosion missions. So very handy, very useful. Now, for my particular builds, like I said, I told you there were 2 different types. So we're going to go over the more common, most basic build. And this particular build right here is really for any type of reactor. I highly recommend going for a crit damage and electric boost reactor. You can go tech, but most of what I have found through playtesting is that you get more benefit when you increase your electric damage. So the card that we use is Time of the Hunting Hounds. So what this does is it changes her first and her third ability to go from singular to tech. So now she is strictly an electric tech reactor, which will increase her base damage all across the board. And it changes her first ability into something called Floating Lightning. So this has less of a range and less bounces than the original skill. However, you do get 3 charges of it, and the cooldown is slightly less as well. Her third ability that gets changed is called Snare Acrobatics. This is the one that you've all seen. You all know it. So she gets down on the ground, she launches herself forward, and does a massive amount of AoE at the end. The skill multiplier is slightly more than the original ability for the burst damage at the end, but it also has the added benefits of doing piercing damage along the way. So this is a great ability for mobility, and I personally, I really like this ability. This particular build that I'm showing here for this base build, you will have problems with her special resource. I found that even running it solo, it still does take a while to charge, and you could not spam this ability as much as I would like. So that's why my preferred build is the one that I'll be showing next, which I think really takes this to the next level and really utilizes Snare Acrobatics to its maximum potential. But let's get on with the rest of the build. So you can take any sort of grapple mod. I like the mid-air maneuvering. This really helps with the new Defiler boss mechanic to avoid all the stuff on the ground. This is a very common one. I've been reluctant. You guys have seen on my build, and I'm gonna take the short sword because I actually do like the default grapple. I like the cooldowns of it better. But mid-air maneuvering was just really necessary for the new hard mode boss. We've taken Nimble Fingers for a 25.6% cooldown reduction. We've taken Focus on Electric and Focus on Tech to increase her skill power and decrease her cooldowns, because we want to spam her first and her third ability as much as possible to do the maximum amount of damage. We've taken some crit cards here in Front Lines and Emergency Measures, Skill Insight, and Skill Concentration. So the 4 crit cards, you want to make sure that you have all 4 of these for this build. Once again, this makes sure that you don't need to worry about your reactor and your components to get up to 100% crit. With these 4 cards here, you will have 100% crit, and you are good to go for her abilities. I've taken Skill Expansion to increase her skill effect range by 92.3%. And then we have our defense cards here in the form of increased HP and Battle of Stamina. So she is a very survivable build. This one's basically a cookie cutter, I would say, for if you just want a standard build, don't want to have to farm a reactor. This is what you would take. All you would need to farm is a tech electric reactor, preferably with crit damage, and then some boost to preferably electric, but tech would work just as well to get your maximum damage amount. So this is the basic build. But, okay, I really recommend doing my other build, and which is this one. It's a very small, minor change, but once again, this change is drastic. So we have taken off Skill Insight, which increases our critical hit rate by 115%, and we replaced it with Potent Collector, okay? This is where it gets really fun. So here's the comparison between this build with the Potent Collector and this build without the Potent Collector. With the Potent Collector, you can see that her special resource charges way faster, and it stays full almost the entire time, and you don't have to worry about your resources so much while you are going through the erosion dungeons. So once again, you do need multiple mobs. This is a mobbing build, not a bossing build, but I found that this is so much more fun. It makes her so much more mobile and so much more enjoyable to play. So I really do highly recommend doing this change, but like I said, that requires you to have a very specific reactor. So here's the reactor that you would want to get, which is a electric tech reactor with the skill critical hit rate bonus. Okay, I've added skill effect range on here, but you could honestly, a better reactor would probably be skill critical hit rate and skill critical hit damage. All right, that would be the ideal reactor. This one works for me, but a little bit more damage could be useful. And I probably will farm one before we have to do the harder mode erosion dungeons as well. So in addition, if you find that your crit rate is still not at 100% with just this reactor, she scales her crit based on her maximum MP. So you may also need to make sure that you have a sensor that increases her maximum MP to get your crit rate up to 100%. So the components that you will need to pay attention to is your sensor for your maximum MP, and you will need a reactor with a skill critical hit rate increase to be able to get up to the 100% to do this build. So it's very specific, but like I said, it's just so much more fun. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed my build guide today. Really, for your components, all you need is the 2 slot for the electric skill power modifier, and then you can go cooldown reduction on your components. I honestly just stacked HP and MP recovery with what I had. I haven't farmed anything in particular for her because, quite frankly, she's so powerful right now, she doesn't really need it. But you might want to farm some specific components later if you are finding yourself lacking survivability. So I hope that you guys really enjoyed my build guide. She's been a lot of fun. I know I'm behind on a couple others, so I will have the Keelan build guide out here for you guys next week or towards the end of the week. And then I will be working on getting my Sharon build updated for the Ultimate Sharon version as well. So in February, just for an announcement, we should be getting the rest of the hard mode erosion dungeons after level 20 to get our higher level weapon cores, which weapon cores have been really fun. They've really pumped up the damage for Voltia. I can't wait to see what it's going to do on my Thunder Cage and my Enduring Legacy. Those will be the ones that I'm going to focus on next. So I might have some extra build guides out for cores as well. So thank you guys once again for watching my build guide. Please consider adding me as your content creator. It's free for you, and it does help me make more videos like this in the future. You can do this by going in-game to the social tab, finding my name in-game, AravaVT, hashtag 9304, and then adding me as your content creator. You can also click on the link below this video to take you straight to the next one website where you can log in and add me as your creator there. So It does expire, so if you have done this in the beginning of when you started watching my videos, you might need to re-up the subscription. Once again, thank you everyone, and I look forward to seeing you either in stream or the next build guide.